Yeah, so this week we want to approach cookies. What do they mean? These things that always pop up with we value your privacy and you have to accept.
Conversation with a Hacker, an interview between Greg and Lewis about privacy, security, and other mysteries. No bullshit.
But yeah, first, what is a cookie? How can you define it in simple terms?
Okay, a cookie is like some information that a website it puts inside your navigator. It can be anything. You see it as a text file, so each website has its own text file when you can write stuff and read stuff inside the navigator. It's a little like if you walk on the street and you meet people, and these people have the website, they put like post-it on you. So you're walking on the internet with a lot of information on you that every website puts in. Some of this information is useful. For example, when you go into a website and you enter your login and your password, it puts the information inside the navigator, so you don't have to do it each time you change page. It's, for example, used to maintain your connection to a service. This is quite useful because each time you will change pages, you will have to re-enter your user and your password, and it will be like nearly impossible to use the website. But most of the use of the cookies and most of the bad use of the cookies is for tracking. So basically, what the website do is they put information, IDs and everything inside your web browser. And when you go on other pages on the website, when you actually go on the internet and do your stuff, every website access this kind of idea. So that's how they can track you all around the internet. This is not only how they can track you, it's tracking mechanism. It's quite complex. Cookies is a basic method of tracking people. You have very advanced method of tracking people that doesn't use cookies, and it's really, really hard to evade, but this is a subject for another time. But yeah, so cookies are used for two main things. The first one is to save the preference of your website. If you log in, the size of your window, if you prefer a dark background or a light background, these are actually good things that the cookie offers you. And you have the bad side of the cookie, which is tracking ideas. And that's basically most of it.
Who collects this information?
Everybody. That is the main problem today. Everybody's trying to access the maximum information on you.
Yeah, I mean, in the very moment, if I want to visit a website and I need to click on this like little message, we value your privacy. Once I actually click accept, who collects this information? Is it the web browser or is it a company from the website?
It's probably both. It's probably the owner of the website, the company that hosts the website. Some website, before you accept the cookies, already putting cookies inside your web browser. But basically, I think the consent about the cookies started as a good thing, but it ended up just being a pain in the ass for the users, and it didn't actually change anything.
When I go to a website and I visit something and I accept these cookies, what am I accepting exactly?
Okay, so you're accepting that the website can read and write information inside your browsers, so inside the cookies, and this can be anything they want. If they want to put a tracker ID on you, they can. If they want to read information out of some cookies, they also can.
And they track my IP as well?
The IP is not stored in the cookie, but the IP is stored on their server.
But the moment I close this, they don't track anymore.
It doesn't go away. So it stays saved inside your web browser. So when you open it again next time, it's still there.
How can it be harmful to me as a user that they're storing and tracking so much of this data?
Okay, so imagine you go on a website, okay, you go on LinkedIn, for example, and you log in and you use LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn has its own cookie on you, so it knows that this web browser belongs to you. And then you go on another website. And then on this website, you have a like button from LinkedIn. But this like button is also connected to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn knows, because he has his information written inside your web browser, he knows that you went to this site. So inside his databases, he's going to write, this user went there at this moment. So basically, they're grabbing as much information as they can. And this is also how Facebook is able to know who you are. It's because since it's everywhere, when you visit a website that has a like button, that has a connection to Facebook or something, it's like if your web browser is also communicating with Facebook. And since your web browser has information inside the cookies that belongs to Facebook, it has IDs that belong to Facebook, but Facebook is able to know that you're visiting this website, how much time you stay there, etc., etc.
What I don't understand is that me sometimes as a user, I leave a website because it's a huge pain when they add all these pop-up messages from the cookies and everything. So I was just wondering, how come like you don't see more websites not implementing cookies and favor user experience instead?
That's a good question. Personally, or I also have the same problem. When there's too much pop-up, I just close the website. Why do they don't do that? Because your privacy invasion is more valuable than your use of the service. So the information they're going to get out of it is more valuable than the fact that you use the service.
But so the point for a website to use these cookies is mainly used for analytics, right? Like to understand where you go on a web page, for how long, the preferences and all.
Most of it is used for analytics. A little of it is used for your preferences of the website, but most of it today is used for analytics. Yeah.
Yeah, so could you just clarify, so me as a user, how cookies benefit me, like, so, yeah, they take into account my preferences and all this, but concretely speaking, what's the utility for me to accept these cookies? What's the benefit?
It's a little better in the user experience because you don't have to actually reconfigure your service each time you go on it. If you like to have a background that is dark, you don't have to change it each time. But that's very few websites. The most use of the cookie that is useful for a user is a login mechanism. So once you log in, this information has to be written somewhere. So it's written in cookies. So that allows you not to enter your user and your password all the time.
You know, when you use certain services and they ask you for the logins and then they suggest remember my password button, is that linked to cookies? Is that only possible because of the cookies?
Yes, that's connected to cookies. That would not exist without cookies. Just a little specification. Your password is not saved inside the cookie, so you have an ID of the connection that is saved.
Yeah, I get the utility of cookies, but once again, it transformed into more and more abuse and endless tracking. It's a pain in the ass nowadays.
The law that they passed that you have to warn your user about the cookies is just a nightmare. It didn't change anything. Everything got put on the user side. So the companies, they still do exactly the same thing. They don't really care. And you can see that if you try to reject the cookies, because you can't.
So any ways to go around that? Like if I don't want to use these cookies?
You're not going to be able to use the website if you don't accept the cookies. So they will block you. Because once you start doing stuff that gets you anonymous, that removes the privacy invasion, you will see that a lot of websites will just block you, which is quite crazy. So what you can use is the privacy mode inside your browser. It allows the website to write cookies, but when you close the window, it deletes everything. So that's a good compromise. So you can always navigate the internet on the privacy mode. It will not change that much on the tracking because cookies are used for tracking, but there are better tools for tracking too, like the way your computer behave, the size of your window, etc. A lot of things that you can very difficultly fix, and it's called fingerprinting, and it's really hard to evade.
Do you have any recommendation on how to limit the tracking then? Maybe a VPN or...
So yeah, VPN, always use VPN, it's always better. Navigate in privacy mode. That's going to be the basic thing you can do, but it's not going to stop all the tracking. Then you can actually use some add-on on your web browser, like Ghost, Disconnect. They work quite well. JavaScript is a little more complex because you have to know what you're doing. HTTPS everywhere. Also, it's nice to from some privacy issues. But yeah, this is going to stop a little more, but it's not going to protect you that much. The tracking is quite extreme. The techniques are very, very good. So it's hard to give you like a very good tip how to protect you. The only thing I can say if you want really anonymity is to use like Tor. So yeah, it's to use the Tor network. So to use TLOS. but we'll talk about it in another episode.
Who invented cookies? Do you know where the name comes from? Who invented it, and how long has it been there for?
It was invented because it actually was useful. If not, using internet would be a nightmare. When internet started to get actually a little more functionalities and everything, like the logging functionality, you log into a lot of services using your web browser, and you cannot do that without cookie. So they're indispensable to the use of internet. So they're useful for some stuff. The thing is, today in this world, everybody is trying to steal your data. And so they started using that as a way to steal your data. But then the techniques got 10 times more extreme. Cookies is the basic of tracking, but as I told you, they use fingerprinting that even if you don't have cookie, it doesn't really matter. They use caching techniques. It's crazy. So there are people working nonstop how to invent new techniques to track you. If you look in Wikipedia, they tell you that the cookie came from the magic cookie. It was a name used when internet started for something that don't change between sender and recipient. Basically, they send an information that don't change back and forth when they communicate. And that was called the magic cookie, and that's where apparently the name came from.
Well, thank you very much on the much needed clarification on the cookies. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you like this episode, feel free to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Subscribe to the podcast and stay tuned for next week's episode on Conversation with a Hacker.